Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the JSL Show Live. Woo. It's the new year. Everyone's trying to blow off the dust and the dirt and the mince pie dusting from last year and get back into the new season. So I thought, what better guest to have than one of my personal sales gurus, and I know a lot of yours are as well, the wonderful Brian Burns of The Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling. How are you, sir?
Hey, glad to be here. It's good to talk to you again.
Indeed, yeah, we were just saying it's been since last spring, I think, since we spoke last, and we've both seen an upturn, which we'll jump into with your good self as well. So, in fact, that's a great place to start. We were just saying that obviously you're a content creator as much as you are a salesperson, and have had a podcast for, how long have you had the show now?
It's probably been super active for probably about 6 years. I started it 10 years ago.
Wow.
As a way of getting the word out for a book that I was publishing then. But that was before smartphones and before anyone knows what a podcast. I'm really not sure how many people know what a podcast is.
I mean, neither, but the numbers are definitely starting to go up.
Oh, they're definitely
starting to go up.
Yeah.
But you've seen, you've been releasing content and kind of, you're great at releasing content around the show. It's not just the podcast, but it's also, you release videos and such. And you were telling me that in 2019, you saw a bit of a change thanks to some change of content.
Yeah, I've epiphanies during this process, because I originally thought it was write a book. The problem there is, unless you're an author, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And then I went on YouTube, and I had some luck there. But then, how did I consume content as a salesman? It was through cassettes, and right? Or around the fire. We should start at the beginning.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, right.
You listen to it on the car radio, right? Yeah. And then, podcasts are able to put everybody into the car radio. And the epiphany I had this year is, people just don't want sales advice. They don't want to be told. They want to be shown. And they want to laugh. So if you can put a little lesson with a little bit of humor in a short video, it caught on. And I was like, I even started on YouTube with little cartoons.
Yeah.
And they were hugely successful. But then the cartoon company went under, and I couldn't find a new one. So I just kind of turned on my iPhone and started giving sales tips. And they were okay. It wasn't like viral. People
sure.
Over tips.
No.
Yeah. Viral over funny stuff, right? Co-workers like, look, everyone's got this problem. Right?
Absolutely. I follow like sales humor, a bunch of shows, like a bunch of pages like that, just because it's great to see that come up when you see something roll up the screen, right, talking about how many calls you've made. Yeah, exactly. A little break.
Yeah. So that was a game changer for me this year.
So how has that now tied into your sales strategy? Because, sales is something which has evolved an awful lot since the evolution of social media and the ability to actually find out more and more about your potential prospect. And if I was looking to get in touch with a Brian, I could find out, that you're a content creator, find out the stuff you're doing, where you are, etc., make one phone call and know a bit more about it.
Right.
How have you found it with releasing content as well?
It's very powerful, because an ad is an ad, right?
Okay.
It's very expensive. People know it's an ad, and they either do something and you happen to hit them at the right time.
Sure.
But I'm more in the training space. And for somebody to invest in training, they got to know, like, and trust. Right? I don't have a private jet. I don't have a Lamborghini. And I think those gimmicks, the people that they appeal to aren't the people I want to work with.
No, ain't that the truth?
I want to work with people who are like, want to make good money, want to, the way people want to buy, or what I call mammal to mammal, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. Podcast builds no like and trust, but it's bill.
Yeah.
Right. Years of content on there. Video the reach is much bigger, about 25 times.
Wow.
it's an obvious choice for me. I don't know what it is for other people. And I like making fun of stuff. So I've got unlimited material.
And also sales is a place with nothing but something to make fun, right?
Right. And the chasm between management wants and what's real and what you can do, it's just on both sides. I can kind of get the vantage point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's so much to make fun of. And, I'm outside all the time. I like to run and walk and listen to podcasts. An idea will come to me, blow up my selfie stick. I put up my little shutter, turn it on, boop, 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 boop.
So easy. But there was a real effortless and seamless change from, like you're saying, kind of sales tips to a lot more comedy driven. But actually, the messaging is still the same, and it's just as powerful. And just saying everything that you were saying before.
More powerful because I'm not telling, I'm showing.
Yeah.
I pretend I'm talking on my broken old iPhone. And people go, "That's not a real call." I go, "Sorry to mislead you." So I get to conversation, and I'm not telling you anything. I'm on the phone. I'm using facial comedy, and doing it a bunch of little vignettes, editing them together.
Nice. But what's great though is that as you're poking fun at the industry that we're in, and as someone who is fully in it, right? You've been not only a salesperson your whole life, but also like an advocate with the show for a decade. All the content you release, your LinkedIn page, and if there's anyone out there who isn't currently following it, please do, because it's brilliant and there's just great stuff to kind of keep you. I like to think that your page and your show keeps my mind right. When I need a little top up of fuel, I can listen to that and be like, oh yeah, that's a good point if I'm listening to the show. And same thing with the content. So obviously it's a slow burner, any of this kind of content. It's not something that anyone can start doing in January. And
I think people make the mistake of putting like an ad, through their video. And it's like, nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah.
Or hey, here we are at our trade booth. Oh, really? I was wondering where you were today.
There's a good reason I didn't come to the trade show.
Yeah. Or, here I scraped off a YouTube funny video and it's like, okay, that's clickbait. But that's not getting you either followers or a no like and trust.
Absolutely.
Does that.
So if someone is, new year, they're starting out, or they're blowing off the dust of the year, like I was saying at the beginning, and they're starting off this year, what would you suggest that they do to kind of get a little more success in 2020?
I think the easiest way is to leverage people who already have the audience you have.
Okay.
Because everyone says, should I start a podcast? What's your objective? And it might be people, and there's lots of good reasons, and it is a powerful.
Very much so, yeah.
Right. But being a guest podcast is 1/100th the work and probably 10 times the value fast.
Absolutely.
Because as hosts, we all, have endless demand for great guests. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? Someone who shows up, is engaging, has value.
On time, knows what they're doing, is able to record. No, absolutely.
They know how the computer works. So, and that's easy. And try that, because that way it can take your ideas that you probably either put into a post, a blog of some kind, and share it with the audience that already exists, that someone's for 5 years building.
Sure.
It's very fast, the easiest. I mean, starting your own, I think that's the best forward at first.
Yeah. And personally, I've seen, although it is a slow burner and it's not something where you're going to get to, the sort of engagement that you're getting now isn't something you're going to get by the end of Q1. However, I have seen a huge upturn from just starting to release consistent content. And that's the thing people before we were,
right.
Yeah. Before we,
I can't tell you that. Oh, because it happened like the gym.
Yeah.
Right.
Going for January.
Late December, early January, you're here and do a daily video.
Yeah.
On Saturday, It doesn't post till Tuesday. The next week it posts 3 weeks.
Life gets in the way. February gets missed. Yeah,
right, because it's like work.
Mm.
It is work, and so that's why I say if somebody has the audience you want, contribute to them. Comment on their stuff. Don't hijack it.
No, don't try and sell us on a post because there's nothing.
I just wrote a blog post answering this question. It's like, thank you, bye.
No. Right. Whereas if you use that same information you have in your blog post to answer the question, people will come through.
The 3 things that I notice are this, this, and this. And you're contributing to the author, not trying to steal or redirect everybody to you.
That's
because if they're interested, they'll follow you.
And it's also putting a little good karma out into the world. You're engaging on someone else's post. It's one of the things I see. I'm talking about it more and more, and it seems to be coming up over the last few months. But, we're a marketing agency, essentially. So we speak to an awful lot of businesses who are either doing marketing themselves or running it for them. And so many places or so many brands aren't actually social on social media. They post content and they give a like, but that's and I was equating it the other day to that's like the grumpy guy in the bar, right? He's still at the bar, and if someone's like, "Hey, Bill," he's like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." But apart from that, speaks to no one. That guy's not making friends.
The craziness is the people who should be on, and Jen, the CMO,
nowhere to be seen. No, exactly.
Nowhere to be seen.
Indeed.
You're missing the thing that's happening right now.
And the interesting thing about doing it as salespeople is the hardest thing that we do is do this face-to-face thing. Get to know someone. Like you and I haven't spoken since spring of last year. Jump on a call. Hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. Because we've met and had an interaction. Actually, the thing I found that's amazing about releasing regular content, especially video, is that I turn up to meetings now and people are like, Jay Ludgrove. And I'm like, you're the guy, right?
You would not believe it that, in the little micro city that I live in, people are beeping their horns. People come up to me and I'm like, I don't know this person. Hey, I was in the security right before Christmas and I thought it was security. I thought it was TSA. It's like 5 a.m. I was new. He goes, "Hey, you Brian from LinkedIn?"
Yeah, that's me.
As reps and as marketers, we want our audience to know us.
Yes. Because
so much of what we sell is a time thing. Right.
Yeah, well, I'll buy when I need that thing, and when I need that thing is when I need it, right?
Or when interest builds up. Because there's probably like 3 things I'm in for right now, and if one of those 3 pitched to me, I'm a buyer.
Yeah,
there's probably 100 things that I have latent pain on.
Sure,
right. So I need. You need a bunch of dates. You need to be introduced. You need to meet for cocktails. You need to meet for lunch. You need to meet for happy hour. And then on the need arises.
Indeed.
And you're the person.
Yeah. And it used to be a case where people would get to a certain level of notoriety and be able to go and speak at a conference or speak somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, then you've got the first time ever that 100 or 1,000 people see you and know who you are and you're a trusted brand. Now everyone can kind of do that. It's not a difficult thing.
It's not. And I think you met the right point. The consistency and doing something that adds a little bit to someone else.
Yes.
It's not about you. You had lunch. No one cared a business trip.
No.
Or you just got an award.
No one cares what your product does.
No one. Right.
Until they care.
Problem you solve. And the people problem care.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were saying, there might be 3 things I'm in the market for today. Those 100 things that are burning. Once I've got those 3 there, exactly. And if you can be releasing and putting yourself on the top of people's list. So do you use social selling that as your mainstay now? Or are you still picking up the phone and smiling when dialing?
Well, talk with pretty much everybody who joins my course come in. But I try not to make it a sell.
No.
Because I only want the people who want to be in and it match. Because the last thing I want is anyone saying bad things about it or feeling pressured. I never try and close, but I still, I'm talking to reps probably, 5 hours, 6 hour a week, helping them with deals.
Yeah, sure.
And building more and more content from my courses. And I spent 30 years carrying a bag sitting on a plane every day. Right?
That's a great.
It does not leave my mind. It's
and
not
that
like
one sentence just encapsulates.
This is my thing.
Yeah, that one sentence just encapsulates salespeople on a plane with a bag. Not knowing where you're eating lunch. So well, I think one of the struggles, especially with regards to content creation, that a lot of sales reps have, is getting the sign off from upstairs to actually buy into it and think it's a thing. Personally, I think it's something that sometimes you just have to show people it's working before they'll buy into it and potentially help out. But what would you suggest if people are going to go to their higher ups and say, I want to start releasing content like Brian and Jay?
At the level that it doesn't look like content.
Okay. What do you mean?
Like a LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just do one of those little texts. And if you're worried about the higher up, you're better off apologizing, trying to get permission. You can always
yeah, true.
Right? If your company does have a policy and it requires talk to them, then talk to them. I'm trying to,
of course, yeah,
trouble. And I think us in the U a bit more rebellious than in the UK. So I don't know.
We never get in trouble, Brian.
That's what I hear.
No, but you're absolutely right. But even then, there's not that many places that have a hard and fast policy of saying you cannot post.
Right. Let's say, like, we both know podcasting really well, and you sell to chief information security officers or CMOs or CROs. Find out who has that audience. Come up with, hey, I know 3 to 5 points about whatever. Love to be a guest. Okay. Now, are you creating content or are you participating in someone else creating content? It becomes right.
Yeah.
It takes a half hour, right? And you probably know those 5 differentiators or whatever.
Sure.
Oriented. All of a sudden, now your name is of all of these people, and that's super easy.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is there is no better person to book themselves on a show than a salesperson as well.
Right.
Easiest close.
Right, because I get PR and admin people, and they pick everybody from the YouTube to real estate, multi-level marketing, and it's like, if it somewhat matches, I'm willing to have them on.
Because as you said, podcasters are in need. Like, we're all in need of good guests.
Yeah, and especially for great content. I have a great guest on there that the audience is.
Simple as.
And everybody who's on, they go, wow, I just got 1,000 new followers on LinkedIn. Yeah, it was a half hour. I think so.
Yeah, let's do an hour next time.
2,000. And that's super easy. And I've had a lot of people, let me check with my boss before I come on. Or after we record, can I check with my boss before you post? It's like, could done that first.
Probably not.
Right. And it's like, any boss who doesn't want their sales rep talking to their audience, how's that any different than a cold call?
Exactly. Or knocking on doors or going and seeing clients. If you can't trust that person to say it online on a show. And it always amazes me because so many businesses, Brad, we were talking about last week with on a previous show, but there's so many times where there's one person. And in small businesses like ourselves, it makes sense that, the person who is running it and has a little time and space to be able to do the content becomes the guy or the person who is like the face of it. What surprises me is in big organizations, how it still ends up being one person. There's only one Mark Zuckerberg, whereas salespeople are the people with the conversation. They've done the pitch. They've had the barbecue speak. They know how to go through it and are probably pretty good at, having a conversation, actually.
Right, because that's what they do for a living.
Right.
They talk to people.
And I don't know if it's that businesses are worried about building individuals' brands and them leaving, but
the CMO is concerned about diluting the brand. But the person should not be there representing the company.
Exactly.
Should be represent their view on the topic.
Mm.
And hopefully their view is aligned with the committee.
I mean, it's what they've decided to do, right?
Right. And they should not be wearing a branded shirt with a branded hat. Should not be an infomercial. It should be two people curious about a topic, investigating it, debating it, discussing it, because that's what engages the audience.
Exactly. And also ultimately adds value. And wherever I get value, I then become part of that community.
Yeah.
I need value once to stay part of that community for a year or so,
Right. And on my show last year, the people were having us with cold outreach, unique things, engaging audience, and mostly live regional events. If they couldn't, so it was online type of interaction.
Sure.
Right? Not just a webinar that's masked. It really is a demo.
Exactly.
Presentation demo.
Death by PowerPoint. Yeah.
Yeah. And because they're paying to be on the webinar, they feel they get leads out of it, and they got to talk about their. But until people feel the problem, they don't care about the outcome. No. They care about the solution. Right? So many things are time oriented, and until you have pain, you don't take action.
Indeed, I'm always up for giving as much help and value as I can for free across all platforms. Someone gets in touch, and much like yourself, because I remember we were speaking on before I was on the show, and I can ask you a question, and if you've got the time and it's not a 6-page answer, then bam, here's a quick answer, and it'll almost get some people thinking it's going to cost them. Oh, how much is this reply? And I'm like, nothing. I'm just happy to be part of a community. And if I can help, I'll help. And when you do have budget, maybe I'm the first guy you think of. Hopefully, I'm the first guy you think of.
Before the internet, everyone had like networking events, trade shows,
breakfast things.
Yeah, breakfast. And the ones that were successful when brought a customer in or or had a panel talking about what the audience cares. And guess what? If you're solving care about it, who are they going to go to? Who are they going to ask?
Exactly.
Right.
It's as simple as that. So with the show, plans for this year, can continue posting out? Any changes now that you've seen the content kind of change? Is that going to inform the rest of it?
I think that the thing that resonated last year was having actual much more, inner reps versus authors, trained experts. I'm still going to mix it up.
Sure.
But I think what people want to really learn is what's the difference between the people who are crushing it and the rest, right? and I'm trying to bang in everyone's head that it's a performance profession, that you can read all the books.
Easy.
And knowing it is much. It's doing it and then doing it real well, and then learning from it and becoming better and better. And that's same with content production, right?
It's kind of the same with everything, but the problem is with sales is you've got a number breathing down your neck. So
you do, which almost pushes you in the wrong direction. It pushes you in the urgent versus effective. Yeah,
I want to read Zig Ziglar's book and I want to read it in a day so I can implement it by Friday,
and become really good at it.
Really, really good.
It's if you read Chris Rock's book and trying to be a comedian.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Right, Monday I've got a sold out show.
Right. That's not how it works.
Unfortunately,
realized that.
So one I know that I wanted to talk to you about last time and didn't get a chance to. Sales slumps. They're a real tangible thing. I know, I've seen them, I've smelt them, I'm scared of them, I love them. What advice do you give to people? I know that you speak to an awful lot of salespeople, everyone from sales leaders to reps. What advice do you give to people who are hitting a sales slump?
That is probably a very common, what I've heard from many is having a real purpose that's more important than you, whether it be, which is probably the most common.
Sure.
I've seen it. The salespeople who had kids, right? Not only was it a financial requirement, but it was a moral identity thing as well.
And beyond survival.
Well, you want to go to good schools. You want them to have a better life than you. You don't want them to have to do some of the harder things that we had to do. If you keep that purpose in mind, and also disconnect from the actual interaction, that it's okay if somebody's not interested.
Yes,
right.
It really is. There's 1,000 more people out there, right?
There's 7 billion people. You can't call them all.
And even if you did, most wouldn't want what you're selling.
Right. And I'm working on kind of a mindset course that will teach you like why that happens. Because, our little can't tell the difference between a hang and someone chasing us with a spear. It's the same chemical that goes. Right?
It's true. It's true, that anxiety, and it's being able to turn it on and use that as fuel as opposed to just the fire which destroys you.
Right.
Is part of the art.
What is the meaning of this? The meaning is called the wrong person. I said the wrong thing. The different person. It's not bad. It's not rejection. It's just the wrong person. Wrong time.
I fell in love with the Sandler sales system a long time ago, and I don't necessarily use it correctly, but I certainly use it correctly for me. And the thing I loved about that whole idea was bringing quality to each call and kind of pushing for a no. So even in the worst days when I've had 100 no's in a day and my shirt's ripped and I got blood dripping down my ear, even in that day, I kind of won because I was pushing for those no's. That was a real big help for me because, 4 or 5 days of that, when you're like, well, I don't mind a no, all of a sudden the stress gets there and those no's come in thick and fast because you sound desperate and you are desperate.
Yeah, I think people are moving too fast. I think if you go through a no, like, trust sequence where you're not trying to sell, you first try and build rapport, talk about what they care about, and build that from curiosity instead of these are the people that like it, you should like it.
And it's so true because so many people know the process. I want to do this or do that. I'm going to kind of pitch things, and then they jump straight to the end and just try and ram product home and hope that someone's going to be like, well, because you told me it's the best, I guess I'll buy it.
And they got to understand where the other person is, because if they call, okay, there's already an active curiosity interest.
Good times.
Right. Here, try and find out what they want to achieve and then match it up with what you do. You call and doesn't know you. You don't know what state they're in. You're assuming that they could be interested.
Yeah. And
right? Hoping, right? But like what you sell, you got to build up curiosity.
Absolutely.
Because the ones who want what you do probably are on your website or you an email, and they may be 3 minutes away from deciding or 3 months away from deciding.
Sure.
And
you have to get out there.
People just assume that the other person, if I say the right thing, I can change their mind.
And I once upon a time was a musician, and I remember someone saying to me, like, when it's the hit, right? If you're playing the hit, it's always someone's first time that they're hearing the hit. You can't play Hotel California half-heartedly just because you've played it 65,000 times. You still got to play that hard. And the same thing with your pitch. Your pitch and your whole intro gets a little tired after a little while, and you have to find a new way of doing it and keeping yourself interested, because otherwise it's just bad after bad after bad after bad, and then you start to get in your own head and freaked out about it.
Right. Do it all day long. And to us, it's Hotel California. To them, who? The Eagles? What?
It's okay. It's okay. We're on LinkedIn. People still know who the Eagles are on LinkedIn.
Right.
If we release this on Instagram, we're in trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, look, Brian. This has been great. It's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll set something up maybe later on the year, and we can do something a little longer. But for our everyone who's listening live, where can people come find?
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great place. Brian G. Burns, Brian with an I, G, and it's the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast.
And I have to say, honestly, not just because Brian's a guest, I am a huge fan. This is fuel for any salespeople out there who need a little pick-me-up. It's a great place to go, and Brian's hilarious. So do check it out. Check out the show and go onto it. And for everyone else, we'll see you on our next live. Thanks very much for coming, Brian.
Thank you, Jay.
Cheers.